Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
And beer.
and Beer. I
Mm,
actually have some.
beer. Easy.
I think I've earned it.
Yeah.
But here we are in the first 4-part episode in CKCB history. It's Willie Pickton Part 4.
Oh, yeah.
Will there be a Part 5? I'm feeling mysterious. We'll tell you at the end of the episode.
Yeah, you gotta wait. You've gotta wait.
Anyway, two crazy Florida men drinking beer and talking about true crime. And I'm Bill.
And I'm Paul.
All right.
We did it this time.
Yeah. Indeed. It's hot in my house. My daughter didn't turn the AC back up when she got home from school.
Yeah.
It's freaking hot in here.
Ah. Yeah, ceiling fans.
It's on.
Whoa.
She didn't turn, when I leave, I set it to 75.
Mhm.
And it was hotter. It was a lot warmer than that inside.
Oof. Man. Well, I guess it's it's kind of getting you prepped and acclimated for a power outage. A long-term power outage.
If we have a hurricane and lose power, I'm taking my daughter and we're going to my job and we're staying in the truck until power comes back.
There you go.
Because to hell with sitting in a freaking house with no AC in the middle of a Florida summer. And Florida is just preheating right now.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's starting. It's fermenting right now and waiting. Yeah, we haven't seen the worst of it yet.
Not even close.
Yeah.
And we were close to 100 yesterday and the day before. Probably today too. I didn't look.
Yeah.
But anyway, actually today was a little bit cooler. A little bit. Slightly. Anyway, when we left off, we were talking about bank robber Katrina Murphy's encounter with Willie, and we mentioned the names of Willie's final 3 victims: Serena Abbotsway, Diane Rock, and Mona Wilson. We will get to them shortly, but there's a little setup we need to do before that. Willie had Gina Houston, Dave, and Lisa Yelds feeding women from downtown East Side to him, but the women helping him would come consecutively. Lisa Yelds was replaced with Gina Houston. Gina was soon replaced with the new recruiter Dinah Taylor. Dinah was a native in her late 20s, and she was also a drug addict. And she had been in downtown East Side all of her life, and in 1999 she started hanging out at the farm for weeks at a time. Dinah had been recruiting for Willie from the Roosevelt Hotel and at the Wish House, just as Gina had been. And she would bribe them with money and drugs, just like Gina had done. And by now, most of the women were telling her to piss off. But some didn't. Dinah got herself into Willie's good graces, and she was soon using him as a sugar daddy. She even had access to Willie's bank card and his cash. You can make the case that Lisa Yelds and Lynn Ellingson didn't realize at first that Willie was killing women. And in a bit of a stretch, you could convince yourself that Gina didn't either, although you might pull a muscle from that stretch.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was a good stretch.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I should do that more often.
But just get a big old stretch and go, Gina Houston. But Dinah Taylor, there's no denying that she not only knew, she took part in the murders in some fashion, because her DNA was found on multiple items found on the farm after Willie was arrested. It got to the point that the Wish House administrators banned her from even coming in. And by now, everybody knew that Willie was more than likely the serial killer.
Mm.
The VPD was still doing VPD things, and December 31st, 2000, Kim Rossmo was jettisoned from the force and from the investigation. Some officers were pissed, but the majority of the higher ups were ecstatic with a ding dong, the witch is dead mentality.
Yeah.
I personally believe that every single person in the VPD knew that Rosmo was not only a very important part of the investigation, but also he was 100% right in everything that he had said.
Mm.
Their fragile egos wouldn't let them accept it, though, which led to his dismissal. The VPD chief had also started seizing things like his computer, saying that had to be reallocated to another department, basically clipping Rosmo's wings. Although an editorial about VPD firing Rosmo was published in a newspaper, resulting in even more public outrage, VPD didn't care. Their nemesis was beaten, and Rosmo had gone to Washington, D.C. as the director of research at the Police Foundation.
Well, damn. At least he was appreciated there.
Yeah.
And somewhere that he was appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, they had the U.S. knew how valuable he was.
Yeah.
Like, y'all don't want him? We'll take him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. And he was making much more money there too. The VPD response was Project Even-Handed, which seems to be a further attempt to smear Rosmo by saying that he wasn't playing fair. Project Even-Handed had a staggering 4 people working the missing women case. And during the beginning of 2001, 4 women had disappeared right as the new task force was trying to figure things out.
Jeez.
Patricia Johnson, Heather Bottomley, Yvonne Bowen, and Heather Chinook. More officers were then added to the task force.
Huh.
Don Adams, he was the head of the task force, and he believed from the start that there was a serial killer.
Of course he did.
Yeah. Well, Don's not a dick.
Yeah.
That Dick Darwin, to be specific.
Yeah.
But VPD is full of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Don is not one of them.
You got to have Don the No Dick Adams.
Oh, it's true. This man has no dick. That movie's out on streaming now. The new Ghostbusters. I think I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
Probably on Sunday. Since we're
that's
not...
right. It's on screen. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it on Sunday. It's like $20, but still, it's a hell of a lot lesser than it would be if you went and saw it in the theater.
Oh, I know. You get your own popcorn. It's a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More comfortable.
Oh, and Godzilla -1 is coming out really soon, too.
Oh, shit.
Got to see that one. I love Godzilla.
Yeah.
But posturing, but at least they would have somebody in charge that was in public telling it the way it was. And Willie Pickton was number 1 on the list. June 1st, 2001, 23-year-old Angela Jonesbury had disappeared. She had gotten involved with a criminal Afghan immigrant who had a long rap sheet, and she even had a child with him. And she had lost the child because child services had intervened. This guy, I'm looking at the date that she disappeared. What's just a couple months later in 2001, and this guy's an Afghan immigrant who's a criminal?
Yeah, just before September.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no evidence that he was there. I'm just making an observation.
Yeah.
The man and the father of the child was just pimping her out and keeping her on drugs, and she thought that it was a real relationship. Angela had been diagnosed with HIV as well. And finally, her abuser was sent to prison, but after that, she was invited by Dinah Taylor to a party at the farm. Dinah, won't you blow your brains out? But showing their true colors, the VPD was back saying there was not necessarily a serial killer, even though there was another woman who had escaped when a man tried to haul her into her truck by her hair.
Jeez.
Not to mention Katrina Murphy. Although they probably discredited her because, she's an infamous bank robber.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you could hear Willie, wailing with laughter a freaking quarter mile away.
Yeah.
But Serena Abbotsway was 29 in August 2001. She was a native and she had been sexually abused as a child. Her life growing up wasn't much easier, and she wound up in downtown Eastside as a teenager. She had been beaten almost to death by one of her dates in 97, and she had to have a steel plate put in her head.
Damn.
Earlier in 2001, she had come down with asthma and was prescribed an inhaler. By now, the farm was a no-go zone, and Dinah Taylor started telling these women about parties in Whaley, Whaley, Whalley, which is across the river south of Vancouver, in the complete opposite direction from Port Coquitlam.
Mm.
But the women would be subdued after heading off, and then they would wind up at the farm.
At the farm.
At the farm.
Where is at the farm? What's at the farm?
Pigs!
Oink.
For those of you listening on audio only, he just threw pigs up on the screen.
A good reason to go check us out on YouTube.
Indeed.
Yeah. Gotta have those Easter eggs.
Easter oinks.
Mm-hmm. Easter oinks.
Easter oinks.
Yeah.
Bernie Fournier was the head of Wish at the time, or Fournier, I guess. Or Bonnie Fournier was the head of Wish at the time. Yeah, Bernie was the head of Wish. He played quarterback for the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
Bonnie Fournier was the head of Wish at that time, and when Serena didn't come back, she had an eerie thought that none of these girls, it's like none of these girls would get into a car with a stinky man. She realized that somebody else had to be making the pickups. She was right.
Oh yeah.
September of 2001, the Sun newspaper ran a story about how the last 6 women had gone missing, and how, of course, the VPD was doing nothing. Scathing would be a good word to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Don Adams, the head of the task force, who did believe that they were looking for a serial killer, called Seattle, and he did request a sample of Gary Ridgway's DNA because, he had just been caught, and he hadn't been caught yet, but they still had his DNA, and they didn't request it by name. They said the serial killer that y'all have.
Yeah.
Seattle agreed, and they sent it. He got 12 officers to patrol downtown Eastside at night, but VPD was releasing statements saying how they had different procedures on how they handled missing person cases versus homicide cases. So they're still calling it missing person. Finally, October 15th, 2001, VPD announced that they were now investigating the disappearances as homicides.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yay. Golf clap.
Something's happening. Yay. Finally.
Golf clap. Only about 10 years too late.
In the wave.
The media was holding the feet of VPD to the fire, and finally they were getting results. Kim Rossmo had filed a wrongful dismissal case against the VPD, where in trial all of his evidence that was ignored was put on display. Also, indiscretion from VPD came to light. And for example, Detective Murray Phillips had sex with a prostitute in the bathroom of a karaoke bar.
Oh, jeez.
We hate sex workers unless we're banging them.
Mm.
Eh?
Hey.
No, but you don't understand. I'm trying to help her. I'm trying to help her survive, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like studying the atmosphere.
And then we got up and sang Summer Nights in karaoke. I hate that song. I hate that movie.
Oh, Summer Nights.
Grease.
Grace.
I hate that movie.
Did they remake that? They remade that too, didn't they?
I know there was a Grease 2. I don't know if they remade it.
I think there's already a reboot of it.
I mean,
what isn't there a reboot of?
Yeah. I mean, the chances of me seeing a reboot of Grease are like less than zero.
Ah, same here.
So, I mean, I hate that movie. And the reason I hate it is because, number one, I used to be a karaoke host, and you would always get somebody every night, some two drunk people that can't sing a lick want to get up and sing that freaking long-ass song.
Mm-hmm.
And I also made the mistake of buying it for my first wife because she loved the movie. What do you think we watched every single day for like a year straight?
Oh, shit. Oh, man.
Yeah,
No
so
wonder why you hate it.
Yeah, I hate that movie.
Oh, geez. I would too.
And not to mention,
Yep.
that movie also made me hate John Travolta too. I cannot stand him. He plays a really good villain, though. I will give him that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He
Broken
plays
Arrow.
Yeah,
Face
that.
Off. Oh, man. Ooh.
The original Punisher movie, he was a pretty good villain
yeah.
in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a really good villain. Better villain than he does a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, hashtag, but I digress. It was also brought to light that they had information from 3 different people that Willie was likely the guy. Bill Hiscock, Lynn Ellingson, and Scott Chubb. Will Hiscock and Scott Chubb. There we go again.
No wonder why they didn't take the case seriously.
See, Chubb and Hiscock. Oh, boy. Okay, that's beating a dead pig at this point.
You mean the one over the fence?
Yeah, that one. Hey, piggy. Although I'm pretty sure that pig that you just put up there was a hell of a lot cleaner than any of Willie's pigs ever were.
That was wearing perfume.
Oh, man. Anyway, 3 different people that Willie, information from 3 different people that Willie was likely the guy. Bill Hiscock, Lynn Ellingson, and Scott Chubb, not to mention Sandra Ringwald's experience. Nobody had Nobody had seen Serena Abbotsway since August 1st, but on October 19th, 30-year-old Diane Rock disappeared. She was a mother of 5, and her story is the same. Her kids were living with Diane's mother. And the tragic part of this was August 1st, when she was at a party at the farm. She was raped by several men, and she got away. She managed to run to a gas station where she called her mother, begging to be picked up. She had cuts and bruises, and there were rope marks on her wrist. And this wasn't necessarily Willie, but it was at the farm.
Oh. So she would never have agreed to go back to the farm.
No, she wouldn't. But then again, that new scam they're doing, it's the party's in Whaley. She wouldn't have agreed to go back there, but she probably didn't know that that was her final destination, literally.
Yeah.
But August 1st August 1st was also the day that Serena Abbotsway disappeared. That was the day of the party.
Yeah. Hmm.
So she was likely on the property when Serena got killed.
Yeah.
And she got raped.
Hmm.
Yeah. Great, great group of people there over at the Pickton farm.
Eh.
November 23rd, 26-year-old Mona Wilson disappeared. She was a native and she was also abused as a child. She was placed in foster homes, and it was determined that she had seen more sexual abuse as a child than any of the social workers had ever seen.
Wow.
And that's probably the women that wind up in sex work that were sexually abused. That's probably the most tragic of all the stories about how a woman wound up in that
Yeah.
line of work. You know,
Yeah. You would think they'd steer far from it.
you would think, but then again, it's all you know. If depending on how bad it was.
Yeah.
A lot of them spiral, as they get older and everything because they can't cope.
Yeah. Yeah.
So late in 2001, Terry Grattan had climbed into Willie's truck. He had two other women there, and that was strange. And the truck stank, and she had asthma. The stink was so bad it triggered an asthma attack, and so she asked to be let out. Willie refused, so she started screaming, and Willie finally stopped, punched her in the face as she got out. She didn't report this to the police because a year earlier she had been violently raped by a truck driver. She reported that. VPD did nothing, and the next day, the same man raped and murdered another sex worker.
Not Willie.
No. This chucklehead's name was Lance Dove, but if the police had done something, the woman he did murder would still be alive.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's just. One night in December 2001, Scott Chubb had a call to the police because he was thousands of dollars behind on his child support, and he had tried to see his son. His wife wasn't having it, and the police were sent out. And one of the officers, a rookie named Nathan Wells, talked to him for about 30 minutes. Chubb talked about how he had recently been jumped by Hell's Angels members, and told Wells that if he got back in touch with him, Chubb would make him famous.
Hmm.
Wells took this contact information, and in January he was moved to the drug division of the Coquitlam branch of the RCMP. He and a sergeant drove out to meet with Chubb, and the sergeant stayed out of sight, just in case you need backup.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a sergeant. Wells is a rookie.
Hmm.
So, at first, Chubb offered 3 names of known drug dealers. Wells said was like, okay, we're already closing in on these people. He offered up 2 more, which Wells took the information for. And they entered into a paid informant relationship with Chubb. February 1st, 2002, Chubb called Wells again, saying he knew of a man with a bunch of illegal weapons. He gave Wells the address and described the guns he had seen. And it was the Pickton farm, specifically Willie's trailer. Wells got a search warrant. And in the process of that, Wells learned of the Ringwald incident and that Willie was a person of interest in a missing person investigation. They let Don Adams know that they were going to go search Willie's property, and Don says something to the effect of, "I'll be there 30 minutes ago." So Don Adams hopped into his Klingon bird of prey, flew around the sun at maximum warp, and arrived 30 minutes before their conversation.
Or maybe he got there as fast as he could.
Fine. I like my version better.
Yeah.
just getting my Star Trek jokes ready because they're going to be in the first. There's going to be a lot in the first episode that we do after this series is over with.
Sweet.
I almost dropped it. I almost dropped it. I
Almost
could
dropped
have
it.
said after this episode is over and the series is over, or after the next episode is over and the series is. I almost said that. I caught myself.
Almost. We're not there yet.
Yeah, don't fast forward to the end because if you do, you're not. It's going to be hard for you to find your spot to get back to it.
Yeah. We might as well make this episode like Pulp Fiction, all over the place. You do the beginning at the end and the end at the beginning and the middle somewhere in the third.
If I did that 5 years from now, we'd still be covering the Willie Pickton case.
And that means the story just never ends.
Seems like it. Don showed up, but he was to wait at the police station because this was a weapons issue. But Don wanted to be there in case something else turned up. And Nathan Wells and several more RCMP officers and detectives drove out to the farm on February 5th. Willie was home, and they watched him go into the trailer. They literally bashed the door open with a battering ram and yelling, "Police! Search warrant!" Willie slammed the door shut, but the officers kicked it open again with their guns drawn. And they threw him to the ground and they cuffed him and read him his rights. And Nathan Wells had himself the honor of driving Willie Pickton to the police station.
Are you sure that was an honor?
Maybe.
Yeah, he was a rookie. Maybe no one else wanted to smell a pig or that pig in their cars.
Hey, you're probably right.
Yeah.
I drove a cab for a little while. There was this guy who was a regular with the cab company. This was over on Hilton Head Island. And they were, this guy had the worst body odor you have ever smelled in your life. It was horrible. And it was winter one time when I go to pick him up. And he smelled worse than normal when I picked him up. So it's cold because it gets cold in South Carolina during the winter.
Yeah.
Even on Hilton Head Island, it gets cold. But so I rolled down the window. This son of a bitch rolls the window back up and asked me to turn on the heater.
Oh.
I was like, ugh. And finally, I got him back to where his apartment. And after he was out of the car, I radioed down. I was like, all right, I'm clear, and I need a respirator. It just popped out. But the thing is everybody knew exactly who I had picked up because I said that. And I kind of got bitched out for saying that over the radio. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm telling a manager, you don't freaking understand. Ask any driver that's picked him up. Ask any of them.
Damn. Oh, was he like homeless guy or just?
No, he wasn't even homeless. He lived on Hilton Head Island. So he had money.
Yeah.
And I would always
lived on the island. Nobody else wanted to freaking smell him.
Have you ever been to Hilton Head Island?
No.
Really upscale place. The Heritage golf tournaments played there.
Oh, okay.
I did a lot of hustling on Hilton Head Island. A lot of it. Doing photography. Yeah, I made some really good money working there. All cash too.
Oh yeah, those are the good jobs.
Yeah,
I did the same thing down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami.
Photography,
all freelance. Yep, talent agencies, casting companies. Yeah, that was fun, man.
Yeah, I had a blast when I was there, and I was just hustling, always hustling.
Yeah.
But anyway, hashtag. But I
digress.
Stinky digress. I wonder if that guy was related to Willie Pickton.
Mm,
Maybe it was Dave.
maybe. Yeah.
There aren't any pig farms on Hilton Head Island, though. The officers who remained, they searched and noticed how filthy the trailer was, and they found a gun case with an illegal gun in it.
Huh.
Jackpot. The
Ding,
warrant,
ding.
the warrant was safe, and now that they had that, they slowed down. They went over the place with a fine-tooth comb. They found a flare gun that had been modified to take 12-gauge shells, which that's illegal.
Oh, hey there. You like true crime stories, right? Yeah, I know. Who doesn't? But I gotta admit, after a while, all those stories of murder and heartache, well, they tend to go straight to my hips. So that's why I, Leroy Luna, have created a podcast called Excuse Me, That's Illegal, where we'll take a hardcore look at some softcore crimes. No TED Talks on Bundy here. The letters BTK won't be coming from these lips. Unless he had a brother that used to steal library books. Suppose I'd be willing to go balls deep into that one if that were the case. Anyways, you'll hear stories such as the Mad Pooper, a female jogger who wreaked havoc in a Colorado Springs neighborhood, using one family's front yard as her own personal dumping grounds. If this kind of content sounds like it's up your alley, Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available right now on all your favorite podcatchers. So come join me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
That was totally spur of the moment to throw that in there, because I was just like, when I said been modified to take 12-gauge shells, which was also illegal, and then the podcast is called Excuse Me, That's Illegal. that was not planned. I
Yeah.
was just like, hey, that's perfect.
Nice.
But then they started finding weird stuff. They found handcuffs with fake fur on them. They found zip ties, 2 dildos. There was women's jewelry, several boxes of several papers they had Dinah Taylor's name on them. There was a box of kitchen knives next to the bed.
Whoa.
There was also a birth certificate with Heather Bottomley's name on it. They also found a .22 handgun with a dildo placed over the barrel, and the gun had a bullet in the chamber.
I don't even want to think about what that was used for.
Me either. Although we're going to find out later. Willie, he later claimed that he used a dildo as a silencer on the gun.
Oh, God.
Well, it's my silencer, eh?
Man.
Yeah, well, silencers are illegal too, so
Yeah.
you just fucked yourself.
Yeah.
They found a bag with women's shoes and a prescription inhaler with Serena Abbotsway's name on it. The date of the issue was July 2001. There's 2 solid pieces of evidence linking Willie to 2 of the missing women. They also found an ID card for Dinah Taylor. Suddenly, one of the officers radioed in and said they should all get to the barn. In the barn, there were 2 pigs hanging from the chains. Hey, piggies! And there were drums of animal remains. But up in the loft, there was a pile of women's items like purses and shoes. There were papers, and one had Lynn Ellingson's name on it. Don Adams was making preparations to have the place sealed off and guarded, as well as getting a search warrant of his own, which was risky because, well, VPD.
Yeah.
Next, a wired undercover officer was placed in a holding cell with Willie. Now, they aren't allowed to question an inmate, but their job is to get the inmate to talk naturally. But put a knife in that.
Yep.
The RCMP was gearing up for an extensive search of the property. Remember, they still haven't found any bodies yet. They were initially thinking they'd be there about 3 months. It would take a lot longer than 3 months. They were going to search the entire property and they, they specifically emphasized the camper van that had been recently moved onto the property.
Why did you put your own emphasis on the camper van?
I do that every time a camper van comes up in these stories because, it started with the Scottish serial killer Angus Sinclair episode way back in episode 25.
Ah, bloody hell.
His pimp mobile was a camper van. And I was just like, it's a camper van. Never get into a camper van. It was just ever since then, whenever camper van comes up, I got to do that. When I bring up these episodes, have you started listening to the back catalog? Kind of see how we originated, how we've improved?
Slowly.
Angus Sinclair was a good one.
Yeah.
But word had gotten out about Willie's arrest, and before too long, there were news crews all up and down the road from the farm was on, and there was helicopters in the sky above the farm. VPD officers actually began calling family members of the missing women, telling them that they finally had a good suspect in custody. Suspect for a missing person? What? He got them all on a cruise?
Yeah, they all went on a cruise. Yeah.
They all went on a cruise?
Yeah. They're all still haven't got back to port yet.
Private island out in the Pacific?
Yeah.
Where the party never stops?
Yeah. International waters. Anything happens there.
Gina Houston's new boyfriend inserted himself into the story by going to the reporters and saying that they had the wrong guy. VPD offered him a job as a captain. No, they didn't. But he did go to the media. You were like waiting.
Yeah.
I think he's full of shit, but I'm not sure. This is a VPD.
Yeah.
Everybody knew, but nobody was talking about the fact that pigs will eat humans.
Yep.
There would be 2 more years before the RCMP or VPD made an announcement, but we'll get to that. Everybody was expecting the farm to be a graveyard. They were even advising the local coroner on how to set up for this.
It just occurred to me, if Scott Chubb doesn't report Willie for the illegal guns, none of this happens.
You're right. Holy shit. He had reported Willie as somebody to look into before, and they did nothing. Yeah, good on Chubb for finding a different way to serve Willie up to him. But I mean, he was doing it for money because they had the paid informant relationship.
Yeah.
But he wasn't trying to go when he initially, went to the police about Willie. He wasn't after money at that point, because that was before John Walsh had showed up with the, with the reward.
Yeah.
Forensic specialists were brought in from all over. High-powered light systems were brought in as well. This was going to be a 24/7 excavation. They even secured a huge refrigerated warehouse for examination purposes.
So, wait, the VPD's initial problem with Rosmo was that he didn't tell them what to do next. They literally waited until someone handed them the answer on a silver platter.
You're right again, my friend. Yeah.
Oh. It keeps shining. It keeps
Willie.
shining.
Yeah. Willie hadn't opened up to the cell plant yet, and he told police that the pigs needed to be fed. So he and Dave were let back into the farm, into the back of the farm to avoid the media, so they could avoid reporters. And Dave was told that he was responsible for Willie. David left the farm sometime before and got in his own apartment. And the police agreed to let Willie stay with him, with the 2 of them only allowed back onto the farms to feed the pigs.
So wait, they didn't take him back to jail? What about the weapons charges?
Weapon charges had been literally swept to the side for the moment.
Well,
Well, and you understand why. I mean, they were focused on the murder aspect, and Willie hadn't admitted anything yet. So at this point, he's still just a suspect.
okay. So I'm sure they had Dave's apartment under surveillance.
Mm-hmm. You know they did,
Mm.
but they had the property mapped out in different sites to make it easier to communicate. For example, Willie's trailer was site A, Slaughterhouse was site B, the camper van
That camper van.
was site V3. V for van,
Mm.
or V for van. The entire property was was also fenced off.
Huh.
But that doesn't mean. I mean, people were able to sneak on to the property. That did happen.
Yeah. I wonder what
And
kind
who
of
knows? Who knows what what these people could have compromised?
Yeah.
You know.
And the kind of fence. Solid fence, picket fence, barbed wire fence, a wooden fence.
Well, if a little piglet can get over it, then yeah. But by now, the Sandra Ringwald case was being reported in the media, and the media was putting the pieces together and releasing the story as they found things.
That's real investigative journalism. Today's reporters should learn from this.
Yep.
This case is what the media should be required to learn from. For anyone who wants to be a real reporter.
I wholeheartedly agree, and it wasn't that long ago either. I mean, the media capitalized on letting everybody know that Bill from CKCB is a mushmouth. Extra, read all about it.
Yeah.
True crime post fumbles over his own words.
That's what makes the show.
Yeah. But anyway, the media capitalized on letting everybody know that despite the dirty hick that Willie looked like, he was actually a multimillionaire. Everybody was waiting for the first body to be found. This story spread across Canada, the U.S., the entire world like wildfire. And I think I remember seeing stories about it back in the early 2000s. They also knew that the VPD had dismissed the idea of a serial killer and had run Kim Rossmo out of town.
The one man who hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and people were pissed.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. The Pickton farm became the largest crime scene in Canadian history. Every aspect of forensics would be on the farm. Fingerprinting, medical, dental, DNA, blood spatter, you name it. Because thousands of human bones would be found on the property, not to mention lots of police cadets who were brought in to sift through the bones and pig shit. And yeah, of course they gave the nasty shit to the cadets.
Yeah. all the newbies.
Yeah.
All the rookies. Right out of the academy, this is what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty shitty, eh?
Yeah.
They started in Willie's trailer, where even more of Heather Bottomsley's belongings were found. They also found more of Serena Abbotsway's belongings. They had also found 2 full syringes that had Windex and antifreeze in them. Remember he was talking about doing that to kill people?
Yeah.
In part 3? Yeah. They couldn't take the items that they had found before, like Heather Bottomley's birth certificate or Serena Abbotsway's inhaler, because they were on a weapons warrant. That's why they whisked Willie away immediately, and I can't believe I said whisked Willie away immediately with twice now without getting tripped up on it. But they locked the place down before getting a warrant so that nobody could go in there in the middle of the night and clean things up.
Yeah.
But now they could collect these things as evidence legally. So they did it right.
Yeah.
Another thing they found was the pigs in sad condition. They found pigs in a trailer that hadn't had food or water in days.
I think Willie used feeding the pigs as an attempt to get their and disposal of the evidence.
Yeah, I agree. But when he went back to Dave's apartment, he never went back to the farm. Like immediately. I mean, he would later, which we'll get to. But they brought people. They actually brought people out there to take care of the pigs.
Oh wow, pig experts.
Yeah,
Pig whisperers.
Now that evidence that tied Willie to the disappearances was officially taken and tagged, it was time to bring Willie back in. Sergeant Bill Forty was chosen by Adams to do the honors, and Bill Forty was an understudy of Adams, and he believed that there had been a serial killer all along. He took a tour of the farm and was disgusted by how filthy it was. And it may have seemed like a lot of time has passed, but it didn't. Only 2 days had passed. Willie was arrested on the February 5th, and we're now on February 7th.
Oh.
I'm leaving a lot of tedious details out of this. But if you want more, you can pick up the book On the Farm, Robert William Pickton, and the Tragic Story of Vancouver's Missing Women by Stevie Cameron. It's worth a read. But one tedious detail I can't leave out is the box full of sex toys that they found.
Of course. This is CKCB, after all.
Yeah. I put a knife in that regarding a future episode. I told you, the one I told you about earlier. The book I just bought.
Yeah.
Get on social media. If you hear us talk about this, get on YouTube or social media and make guesses. Or see if you can, based on what I just said, see if you can guess the case. I bet you can't. I challenge you, listeners.
Challenge.
But seriously, I don't get why Willie Pickton had a bunch of sex toys. I mean, he obviously didn't care about a woman's pleasure.
He probably used them violently, torturing them with them.
Damn, and I fumble on words.
Right.
I guess though, maybe that's it. He's torturing them with the dildo. I guess.
You're so vanilla.
No, I'm not. Is there something you want to tell us, Paul?
No comment. I plead the fifth.
All right, Willie. That comes up later. One of the vibrators that was found in a box that they hadn't found before was the Miss Lady Flexible Multi-Speed Stimulator. And more fake fur handcuffs they've been before, but one of these handcuffs had blood on it. There was also lube gel, 3 belts, a hairbrush, some empty syringes. There was a fresh panel of wood. There's a fresh piece of wood paneling that had been set up on on the wall, and when they pulled it back, it was covering bloodstains all over the wall.
Whoa.
Many more items were found in the trailer, but when they went to the barn, they found even more in that pile. Found more women's clothing, purses, purses containing cosmetics, condoms, a woman's watch, jewelry, all that had blood on them. A lot more. One purse had a used condom in it. So they knew that they were in a killing ground, but they still hadn't found any bodies. And I'm pretty sure that DNA they found in that condom belonged to Willie.
Yeah.
Ew.
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 Wow.
heavy equipment was brought in. They had to excavate the entire 14-acre property, and they even brought in a man named Bob Stair, who had worked on the International War Crimes Tribunal, and he had worked on the mass grave sites in Yugoslavia.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's intense.
Man.
You know, the fall of Yugoslavia might be a good story to cover if we do another history episode.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story. Everything had to be searched, every inch of the property, as well as every piece of the junk cars, construction junk, and everything. They even brought in refrigerated trucks just in case, or reefers, as they call them in the biz.
Mm-hmm.
They all had to search the freezers on the property as well.
Oh, yeah. We can't forget about those freezers that he had.
Mm-mm. But Scott Chubb clammed up at this point, and he didn't want to testify in trial because he was terrified of Dave Pickton. He said that Dave had nothing to do with this stuff, and he pointed them to Lynn Ellingson. He said that she had something real on Willie, and he mentioned that Willie had been paying her big money for something. They asked him if he had seen any bodies, and he said no, but revealed that Willie had offered him money to pay Lynn. Lynn was taken in for questioning, and she said she didn't remember anything. And she held fast to that, and finally she asked for a lawyer, and she was released. You know, the lack of bodies convinced police early on that Willie had a wood chipper, but they never found one.
He was feeding them the pigs, mixing the meat with pork, and that was left. And what was left went to the West Side Coast West Coast Reduction.
Dan, spit it out.
I'm from out of town.
But you're jumping ahead, but we'll get there.
Yeah, part 5 next week.
You don't know that yet. I do, but you don't.
I digress.
Later in the interviews with Scott Chubb, he revealed what we said, I think it was in part 2, about Willie using a nail gun on the pigs. You know, a nail gun to the head, then a knife to the throat, which is a brutal way to go because the nail gun didn't kill the pig instantly, unlike the, quote, humane way that it is done. He would string them up by their front feet, and then we would gut them, and everything would fall out onto the floor. Willie would then mop everything up and put it into barrels, and he always did his slaughtering at night. Willie was under constant surveillance, and the phones at Dave's apartment were tapped. Reporters were clamoring, trying to get any bit of information that they could find. And one member of Don Adams' crew, Dana Lillies, she interviewed Willie and Dave's sister, Linda, hoping to shed some light on Willie's background. Later, she was sent. Lillies was sent to the farm, hoping to get information from Willie, who was there working. Because remember, I said that he didn't go back until later.
Yeah.
So he was working. He was still working the farm, like days later.
Yeah. Huh.
But she approached him with a calm demeanor, and Willie started talking. He started talking about how his life was over and how he was screwed and tattooed. He even compared himself to Princess Diana, the way he was being hounded by the media.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that even dead Princess Diana smelled better than he did.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
That was tasteless, but it's true.
Very true.
Not to mention, Princess Diana was dead at that point. Willie was not, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't talk
with paparazzi around there either.
Yeah, well, there was at this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talked about his childhood. He even told her about how Americans love cherry pie and how he found it disgusting. How they just loved George Washington celebrating his birthday and
having cherry pie.
Still never heard of that.
Me neither.
If I like cherry pie, that would be a pretty cool tradition to start, though. But I don't really care for cherry pie.
Me neither. Yeah, yeah,
I like cherries, but I don't like anything cherry flavored.
yeah.
Same thing with strawberries. I love strawberries, but I don't like anything strawberry flavored. It's weird. I'm weird like that.
Yeah. I like cherry cola or something like that.
Yeah, cherry
That's
cola is
got a,
fine,
that's got a different.
but like
Uh,
cherry jam, stuff like that,
oh,
cherry
yeah.
pie and all that stuff. I don't like it. Strawberries jam, whatever. I like raw cherries, raw strawberries.
Yeah. Yeah.
But um, he really opened up to her and even told her about his little pet calf that Leonard had butchered. He said he was not a killer of people, although he had one time slaughtered 43 pigs in one day. I think he was I think he was exaggerating.
Yeah.
Yeah. He mentioned Gina, Dinah, and Lynn, saying that if he was a killer, why didn't he kill them?
Right.
But finally, he's like the Doctor. He likes to have female companions.
Mm, yes.
And that's the only aspect that he's like the Doctor on. But finally, the Lilies wrapped it up, and she served him papers about his weapons charges, and they parted ways. She had intended to record the entire conversation using an active cell phone, but the battery on the phone had died early on in the conversation. It didn't matter because Willie didn't reveal anything anyway.
Mm,
Other than, he's got this victim mentality.
yeah. Now he's the victim.
Yeah. I'm sure every single one of his victims would rather be victimized the way that he feels like he's victimized
Mhm.
than what he subjected them to.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm going all paranormal out now. They're all standing there over top of him, going, "Die, die, die."
Willie was brought in for fingerprinting. Seems like an odd thing to bring him in because you'd figure they'd already had his fingerprints.
You think? Yeah.
It could have just been,
We need new ones.
yeah. That's probably honestly all it was. They just needed an excuse to bring him in again.
Yep.
So they're like, we got to fingerprint you, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, somebody let an ostrich loose and ate your fingerprint sheet up, so we need new ones.
Yeah.
I say that
Updated
joking.
files.
I say that jokingly, but ostriches do come up.
Mm. Mm.
But he was put in a lineup. On the other side of the glass was Renata Bond. She was asked to point out the man who was last seen with Sherry Irving, and she pointed out Willie immediately. Lilies then took another crack at Willie. They went and had lunch, and she told him that DNA had come back as a man's DNA. The DNA that was found. She got him talking about the farm, and she had an aerial picture of it. She asked him about waste. He pointed to a spot where it was the bone pit. And he said, they might look like human bones, but they were from pigs.
Oh man.
That's just oh man. It was probably a mixture.
Yeah.
He said that he only kept the leg bones and everything else went to the rendering plant. Lilies asked if they ran DNA, would they come back as human? And Willie said if they did, he'd be nailed to a cross. But soon he composed himself and said that the bones were ostrich bones because he had brought ostriches to the farm.
Yeah.
Because ostrich meat, people pay for that.
Yeah.
It's
That's quite a delicacy.
I've never tried it. I would try it, but I never have.
Yeah.
I'll try anything once.
Sure.
But don't know that I don't know if I put this in these notes, I can't remember if I did or not. But remember the when he turned those 2 pigs loose in town last episode? That comes
Yeah.
up again. But he was also planning to do the same thing with ostriches.
Oh. Man.
Like I said, with that, take away all the crime and murder and everything, and Willie's just the goofy crazy farmer guy.
Yeah.
You know, because that's funny.
Yeah.
Releasing a
And
bunch
it's
of ostriches.
really funny yet stupid shit.
Yeah, hijinks.
Oh man.
They would have probably made a different movie about him if that had been the case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one about this funny man, this funny pig farmer.
Yeah.
See, Willie, you fucked up. But meanwhile, the camper van was being searched. Lots of human blood was found, and it was recently spilled, and it was tested, and it was determined to be Mona Wilson's blood. And at that point, Willie was arrested again, and he was put in a holding cell. He was being charged with first-degree murders of Mona Wilson and Serena Abbott's way, but they still needed to know what had happened to all the bodies.
Mm.
Willie was given a prison jumpsuit, but he refused to take a shower.
Of course.
Like, I'm a bath boy. I was raised on baths.
Mhm.
Well, you've only taken like 6 of them in your entire life there, Willie.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, 7 included the one that you took when Lisa Yelds told you to.
Yeah.
But as he was being taken to the holding cell, there was another man in the cell bitching, demanding his lawyer. This was just the cell plant. It was a different one that they had put in there initially. There's video of this on YouTube, and what is possibly the worst bit of acting that I've ever seen. This guy apparently thought that saying "fuck" every other word would endear him and legitimize him to Willie because he used it a lot and not necessarily in the right places. He and Willie got talking, and he was trying to say that he was in on some charges from back east. Willie, what were your charges, mate?
Fuck me. Get some fucking charges from fucking back east.
The guard came back in with some blankets, and the undercover officer snapped at him.
Want to fucking check on that fucking call from that fucking attorney.
We'll let you know.
That's a fucking problem when you're dealing with the back fucking east.
Willie said, "That happens. Fuck, I can't believe I'm in this shit here. They got me on 2 murder charges, eh?
You're going to fucking make them sick. These fucking cops here, they're fucking dirty."
I didn't do it, eh? But lawyers can only do so much. I'm not kidding. You watch the video on YouTube.
Yeah.
This guy says "fuck" like every other word.
Wow. Worse than Scarface?
Worse.
Oh, man.
This seems as good of a time as any. Got another promo to run, but after I got done, I listened to Mental Illness Theater's part 4 on this, just to kind of compare notes and everything. And he's just like, they're Canadian. He says, if you're a criminal and you get put in the cell and the guy starts talking to you and like using "fuck" excessively, it's a cop.
Oh, man.
And with that, let's roll their promo.
Hello, I'm Mark.
I'm Gina.
And together we are Mental Illness Theater. Or at least we try.
We try to survive it.
We're the hosts of The Worst, a podcast where I deep dive horrible subjects and tell the story to Gina.
And I tell terrible, tasteless jokes to kind of break up the awful, soul-crushing details that you bring us.
I try and you try, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah, I mean, stop being upset. We are trying our best.
And honestly, we're weird people. We find this makes it a little more palatable to get through the horrible details of some of the worst true crime.
Yeah, because otherwise I just want to take an ice pick to my own eardrums.
I can't do it anymore.
No.
So if you're the type of person who finds, Weekend at Bernie's the most hilarious movie ever, we might be up your alley.
Give us a try.
Absolutely. Just look for Mental Illness Theater on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, or whatever platform you happen to use for podcasts. Thanks for listening, and bye.
Bye.
I
Bye.
I love those guys. And don't they have the greatest name for a true crime podcast? Mental Illness Theater.
Yeah.
That's the bar none the best name for a true crime podcast out there.
Yeah, it is. That's a good one.
But anyway, the plant, the undercover officer had Willie eating out of his hand, and he said fuck over 150 times in their conversation.
Oh man.
The plant had buttered him up, saying Willie was a celebrity and it was huge, like O.J. Simpson. And Willie was eating it up. He was proud of it. Although Willie didn't know the outcome of the Juice's case, and he actually said, "I don't know anything about that one. Eh? Is OJ okay?" The plant said that OJ had beaten the charges and was a free man out there swinging a golf club, adding that cops can really screw up cases.
I wonder if anybody told him that the juice had expired.
I think we're probably the first Willie Pickton podcast since OJ died.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
So if you're a corrections officer at the Supermax facility in Quebec, where Willie is, just go by Willie's cell and just kind of mention, "Hey, you do know OJ died, right? He's not okay. He's not okay. He died." Oh man.
Oh man.
He was a really good Twitter follow, though. Oh, I said that. I said that already in an episode that we've already recorded that will be coming out later.
Mm.
Yeah, I did say it in that episode. Okay.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I said that, I'm like, that sounds familiar. Did I say that?
Deja vu.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have recorded one episode already that's not Canada. That's going to come out 2 weeks after the end of the Canada Binge.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting ahead.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. It's about a World War I story about a real life zombie attack that actually happened.
That's a cool story.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, hashtag. We still got a ways to go. The plant said that he was a fucking free man and that Willie would be too. Willie then told the story about Sandra Ringwald, and the plant told him, it's like, well, he should have just bolted east after that happened. And Willie then said that Dave told him that he should as well, and Willie thought about it, but he's just a simple fig farmer.
Figs, man, figs are good. Fuck.
Those trees, they live for a long time.
Oh yeah,
Very long time. There is an enormous fig tree inside Fort Pulaski, over near Tybee Island, Georgia.
Yeah.
There is a huge fig tree there. I mean, it's probably the biggest fig tree in the world, and you can see pictures from Fort Pulaski that were taken back in, like during the Civil War.
Yeah.
That fig tree's in those pictures, but it's a lot smaller.
Damn.
It's incredible.
Whoa.
I've eaten a fig off of it too. But anyway.
Wow.
Hashtag, but I digress off of a word fumble. But anyway, Willie thought about bolting east, but he's just a simple pig farmer. And the plant said, quote,
Fuck. You're just a fucking pig farmer. Not anymore. You're a fucking legend.
Willie said that he was screwed and tattooed and that he was a mass murderer. He lamented about how it had been turned into a circus and how about he even made America's Most Wanted. He told the plan about the piglet incident in downtown East Side. He said that he had been planning the same thing with ostriches. But okay, so I did put it in the notes. I couldn't remember. I read 18 pages of this today.
Yeah.
Willie even noticed that there was a camera in the cell, but I guess he figured it was just for security, because it maybe figured that there wasn't a mic on it because he kept talking.
Mm.
The next day, Willie was grilled for 11 hours straight. Sergeant Bill 40, Bill,
Bill
I got
40.
tongue-tied on my own name. That's worse than getting tongue-tied on self-confidence that I did in some episode a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember if you were on that one or if it was still Todd or if it was with a guest, but still, that's worse than that. Damn. Sergeant Bill 40 was conducting an official interview. He told Willie that they were investigating 50 street workers, to which Willie just rolled his eyes. 40 said that he was being investigated for up to 50 murders, and Willie replied that it was hogwash. He said that he had been set up. He's just a pig man. Willie started talking about his childhood, but 40 later brought up the fact that they were going to be bringing in ground searching stuff, like the U.S. was using in Afghanistan to search for bin Laden.
Wow.
I like how he dumbed it down for Willie.
Yeah.
He then brought out a board with 48 women on it. He asked Willie if he knew them. Willie said no. He said, "Oh, I may have seen some of them, but I didn't have sex with them or kill any of them."
Shit.
That went back and forth and went absolutely nowhere. He then asked Willie what he thought of all the media attention he was getting, and Willie replied,
"They're out to lunch."
He said that he then said that because he was charged, that didn't make him a murderer. They could nail him to a cross, but he was just a plain old farm boy. 40 said that the papers were calling him a murderer, to which Willie got excited. He's like, "I'm in the paper?" 40 ignored that, and he brought up Georgina Papin and Mona Wilson and the evidence in the camper van.
Yeah.
And Willie said that he hadn't been in a camper van in months. 40 brought up that Scott Chubb had tipped them off about the guns, and that he, Andy Bellwood, and others said that they had known that he was killing women. And Willie said, "What?
They're out to lunch."
They're out to lunch. I think I'm gonna start using that. They're out to lunch. 40 then played a tape of Andy's statement, which shook Willie. But 40 then asked about Serena Abbotsway's inhaler and that Willie's DNA was on it, as well as lots of other evidence, including Mona Wilson's blood. Willie said that was a crock of shit. 40 turned up his intensity, hammering Willie with the evidence that they had. It seemed like Willie didn't know what DNA was, and he thought it was like similar to fingerprints or whatever. But once it was explained to him that DNA is foolproof, and then the gravity of the situation seemed to set in. Although he still wasn't confessing to anything. He's probably thinking, "Oh, I don't know about this DNA stuff."
Yeah.
DNA. It's like do not answer. It's kind of like when
Yeah.
kind of like when you knock a girl up and she calls you and you DNA.
DNA.
No, I don't know. I'm just speculating. Well, Willie would have bill collectors calling him.
Oh, I bet.
He's a millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Don Adam then took a crack at Willie. He went over even more evidence, including the many IDs that had been found. Apparently, a lot of people had good lunches that day.
Yeah.
Still, Willie never budged. He said that Don said that they would find bodies, and Willie laughed. He said, "You're not going to find anything." Don continued, and Willie had taken a whatever you say type of stance, not confessing but not denying either.
Mm.
When Don pressed about individual names, Willie said, "No comment." Yeah, he was shutting down. He did say that he wanted to talk to Dinah Taylor, which of course was denied. But Don changed his approach, starting to seemingly praise Willie for his expertise as a serial killer, but saying, "But you just got sloppy. You were really good at it, but you just kind of got sloppy." And to that, Willie responded, he's like, "Yep, sloppiness. That's it. I got sloppy." Mona Wilson's DNA had been found on the gun dildo. Don asked her if he had used it on her, and Willie said yes, because she didn't want to have sex. He then said,
No comment. I'm nailed to the cross. I'm not supposed to talk to you.
"I'm out to lunch."
Out to lunch.
Out to lunch. No comment, and I need to talk to Dinah was pretty much all he said for the remainder of the interrogation, with the occasional out to lunch. While Willie was taken back to the holding cell, and he seemed to be in a really good mood considering he'd been grilled for 11 hours straight. And he hadn't even taken a single bathroom break, and he hadn't eaten.
Mm.
His new friend was there, and Willie was there ready to tell him everything that had happened. He told the plant that he was all over the papers and that they had brought 10 police trailers to his property. And the plant said, "What?"
You're a fucking all-star.
A guard brought in beans and bread with coffee to him, and Willie scarfed down the beans and bread, but he gave the coffee to the plant, who said, "What?"
You don't fucking drink coffee? No one's that fucking straight.
He told the plant that the next day he would be in court on 3 attempted murder charges, and he laughed. He held up 5 fingers. The plant asked, "5?" Willie then used his index finger and thumb to make a 0. The plant said, "50?" And Willie said, "Yep." The plant then began telling Willie how he had killed his victims with a pickaxe, and he said the best way to dispose of a body was to dump it in the ocean. And Willie said, "What?"
I did better than that. A rendering plant. Ain't nothing left after that.
He then said that he only needed one more to get to the big 5-0. And the plant was stunned, and then Willie then said, "What?"
I'm nailed to the cross. About 15 people are going down with me. But I got sloppy in the end. I made my own grave by being sloppy.
It's funny how he thinks he's like godly. Like, I'm nailed to a cross.
Right?
You know, I don't think that he really has like a god complex or anything like that. What I think it is just he's too dumb to come up with, "They're going to put me under the jail." I don't know. I really don't see Willie as the type that would have a god complex.
No. Ego.
Yeah. The police had torn down the walls in his trailer to test him for blood and DNA. They drained the water from around the slaughterhouse to test that as well. And they found hairbrushes, blood on hinges, a dildo with blood on it. There was a pair of goggles and an apron, which had the DNA of the butcher that Willie had used to do up the pigs for parties. I think I forgot to mention him before, but his name was Pat Casanova. He was a Filipino butcher. And they found a tote bag that belonged to Serena Abbott's Way with her blood on it. And it contained her Bible, shoes, an inhaler, a couple books. They also found her DNA on lingerie. They found Angela Jonesbury's DNA in a garbage bag in the slaughterhouse. I don't want to know what that was attached to.
You.
They had people digging and sifting every inch of property, and there were over 100 100 people there at any given time. Victim services had the task of interviewing or of contact. All right, I thought I had written it wrong, but I had written it right. Victim service had the task of interviewing every victim's family member who would talk, and there were many.
I bet. A lot.
Yeah. Scott Chubb and Lynn Ellingson were formerly interviewed, and they were taken seriously finally. Gina Houston had even been talking, and Willie found out about that. He was furious. Dinah Taylor is being treated as a suspect because, like I said earlier, her DNA was found on several items of belongings, including a rosary.
Hmm.
The rosary, I think, belonged to Angela Jonesbury.
Yeah.
No evidence was found linking Dave to anything, and he never admitted to anything, although after the fact he did say that Gina Houston and Dinah Taylor had probably participated in some of the killings. He even testified that as much.
Wow.
They found DNA from Jacqueline McConnell, Heather Bottomley, Diane Rock in Willie's trailer. Willie's now charged with 5 murders. All the meat in the freezers was tested, and there was human meat found in the ground pork. Yeah. Have you ever, some butchers, some like local butchers and everything, they'll sell you like a blend of ground pork and beef.
Yeah.
You ever had that? It's not bad. I used to get that a lot when I lived in North Carolina before I realized that I was like very allergic to pork. But it just makes you realize that when it comes to ground meat, they can put whatever the fuck they want into it.
Oh yeah, anything. I worked in a butcher at Albertsons. I think before I graduated high school. And I was man, that was a cold job.
I bet.
Being in the freezer and the cooler all freaking day, you couldn't wait to walk outside. Damn. But yeah, we had to clean up every night. But yeah, we couldn't. We had to clean up before processing or cutting any other type of meat. Pork, you had to clean up before you worked with the beef.
Cross-contamination.
Yeah, all that cross-contamination stuff. Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, I always got like nauseous after eating pork, and I always just assumed that it was because of the grease that's in pork.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out I was allergic to it, and I stopped eating it for like a year and a half after I found out that I was allergic to it.
Yeah.
One time I went to, I think I may have told this story before on the podcast, but I went to a Cracker Barrel one time, and I had gotten that chicken with gravy on it.
Yeah.
I started eating that. I started eating that and everything, and my stomach was just up at knots. Like, I thought I was going to die. And like, what the fuck are the ingredients to this? Like, is there pork grease in this gravy? Turned out that one of the main ingredients to that pork or to that gravy that they use on the chicken is bacon grease.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just like, okay, yeah. Before, I would always get a little nauseous whenever I ate pork, but after not eating it for like a year and a half, and then it gets into, I will never touch pork again. I can eat pepperonis on pizza. I can eat that.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me. But that's not very much pork.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing, but hot dogs, I got to go all beef hot dogs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, hashtag, but I digress. They found several buckets in the freezers, and when they opened them, they found frozen pig remains, and there was also a human head in one of them.
Whoa.
They found 2 more skulls that had been cut in half. In each half was 2 hands in one of them and 2 feet in the other. It seems like Willie's got some organizational skills.
Shit. Yeah.
But one of the skulls was Serena Abbott's Way, and the other was Angela Jonesbury. And both had bullet holes, and both skulls had bullet holes in them.
Wow.
They also found the rib that I had mentioned earlier that had been matched to the skull that had been found on the road to the rendering plant. That person was a Jane Doe, but it matched. What are the odds that you find a skull on or a rib on the property that matches DNA wise a skull that was found, like miles and miles away? Yeah, Willie did that.
Wow.
They were finding lots of bones, but still no torsos. Willie was then charged with Angela Jonesbury's murder, bringing the total to 6. Soon later, they found a jawbone in a pig pen, which was identified to be Brenda Wolfe. They also found some of her personal items. To show you how thorough they were, they found a tiny bone fragment that they couldn't identify. Years later, through DNA, once DNA got better, it was confirmed that it was Wendy Crawford.
Wow.
That's all they found of Wendy Crawford. Just one little bone fragment that they've proactively, put it aside. It's just like, it's just like back in the 80s and everything when they were finding DNA, they were finding blood and everything. They were taking samples of it because they knew that the technology would catch up eventually and they'd be able to test it. Same thing here with this. For as inept and lazy as VPD was, they're doing a hell of a job now.
Yeah.
But
now they realized, wow, what was really going on.
Well, they knew.
Yeah.
They didn't know it was Willie, but they knew there was a serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to save face right now by actually doing their fucking job.
Yep, backpedaling.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not gonna fault them for doing for like doing their job. I'm not gonna fault them for that, even though it is too little, too late, or whatever. But still, they're doing a hell of a job with this investigation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not just the VPD. You've also got like RCMP crews out there as well. Forensic, analysts and just you got a crew of Dexters out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also found a saw with Casanova's DNA on it. It also had bits of human flesh on the saw.
Wow.
The farm had been searched for a total of 20 months, not 3.
Shit.
They were only off by 17 months.
Yeah, almost 2 years. Jeez.
Yeah. There's a lot more in this book. I mean, I've left out a lot. If I covered the entire book, this would be a 15 episode series, maybe more. So once again, if you want to know more, I recommend the book. It's On the Farm, Robert William Pickton, and the Tragic Story of Vancouver's Missing Women by Stevie Cameron. Pick it up if you want to know more, because like I said, I left out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been a podcast series done on Willie Pickton the way true crime bullshit was done about Israel Keys. There hasn't been one on Willie Pickton yet. But you could do one just with this book.
Oh yeah, just the book, 700 freaking pages.
Yeah. Oh, the book was it's amazing. One of these days, if I have time, I'm going to sit down and read the whole thing cover to cover.
Yeah.
But yeah. VPD had egg on their face because of all the details that had come to light about how they had stubbed Kim Rossmo, who had been right all along. Before too long, 4 more victims had been identified. Helen Hallmark, Jennifer Firminger, Patricia Johnson, Georgiana Papin, making it 11 now total. Soon after, Tanya Holk and Heather Chinook, Sherry Irving, and Inga Hall were identified. That's 15 now.
Well, we're entering the home stretch, guys. If you're still listening, thank you for sticking around.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, thank you. But now that they had everything that they could find, but they're not done yet, but it was then time to decide which evidence would be used in trial. By the time that it got to this point, Willie had been charged with 40 murders total, which was then shaved down to 26. But that was then shaved down to 6. Serena Abbotsway, Mona Wilson, Andrea Jonesbury, they were the ones whose heads were found in buckets. Also, Marnie Frey, Brenda Wolfe, and Georgina Papin. Damn. Supposedly, the plan was that the other 20 would be tried later on. Do you think they ever were?
I don't think so.
No, they weren't.
Wow.
The incompetence of the judicial branch of this case made the VPD look like amateurs. Now, keep in mind, they had DNA, actual DNA from 33 different women identified, basically proof that he had killed them. Slam dunk.
Mm-hmm.
With his DNA on some of the evidence as well. Now, according to the less than honorable Justice James Williams, like how I called him the less than honorable. He said it was to make the trial easier on the jury. And let's be honest, it was to save time and money and nothing more.
Yeah.
This presented a huge problem for the prosecutor, Mike Petrie, because the 20 other women wouldn't even be allowed to mention in the trial.
Wow.
That's great news for Willie.
Mm-hmm.
He was so happy he even wrote a letter of thanks to Justice Williams.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think that good job there, Judge. On a side note, on October of 2006, somebody tried to kill one of Dave Pickton's employees with a sawed-off shotgun. He survived, and Dave didn't speak about it to anybody, but I'm wondering if this was a case of mistaken identity. Like maybe a friend or family of a victim thought... a friend or family member of a victim thought it was Dave. I don't know, just a thought. I'm speculating.
Yeah. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, they got the guy and charged him. Charged him with attempted murder. But oh no, I wonder if it just got things to make you go,
Mm-hmm.
January 22nd, 2007, the trial started with hundreds of reporters on the scene. The prosecution went on DNA evidence and physical remains. And one other thing I forgot to mention was that Sandra Ringwald was not allowed to testify. Why? It essentially boiled down to the fact that she was alive.
What?
Yeah, she was not allowed to testify in Willie's trial about what he had done to her.
That's bullshit.
That is bullshit. And the defense's case was basically maybe it was somebody else who committed the murders in Willie's trailer, in Willie's camper van, in Willie's slaughterhouse. Sure, Willie was a filthy slob, but if he came home one day and found a bunch of blood everywhere, I think he'd at least cleaned it up.
He didn't clean it up.
I mean, if he was innocent, he would have cleaned it up or called the police. If he legit hadn't done it, there's a bunch of blood in my house.
Yeah.
That's a pretty weak line of defense, if you ask me.
Very, very weak.
The defense threw up names, even Dave, who could have done it. Dave testified under oath that Dinah Taylor participated. Lynn Ellingson and Andy Bellwood testified, and the defense ripped apart their character because they were druggies.
Not to mention Lynn was blackmailing Willie.
Yeah. I mean, blackmailing him about the fact that she had walked in on him butchering somebody?
Yeah.
But whatever. Trial ended in November 2007, but the less than honorable Judge Williams made a mistake when explaining first-degree murder to the jury. He also basically said that they had violated Willie's rights in the 11-hour interview, and he said, I quote, or Paul
If
quotes,
you find Mr. Pickton shot Miss Abbott's way, you should find that the Crown has proven this element. On the other hand, if you find you have a reasonable doubt on whether or not he shot her, you should return a not guilty verdict on him murdering her.
what? He shot her, but he also butchered her. The trial wasn't whether or not the bullet killed her. It was simple. Did Willie kill her?
Yeah.
It wasn't how did she die. It was did Willie kill her?
Uh,
Yeah, so infuriating.
I don't know how some of these people get into law.
I know, and there's speculation that maybe Judge Williams might have been a patron of Piggy's Palace,
Maybe.
but and this also leads to the conspiracy charges. This conspiracy theories about it being a larger organization and stuff like that, which I still don't buy that. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, in part 3, we were talking about was there an outbreak of hepatitis?
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't find any mention of one. But Willie was found not guilty of first-degree murder. He was found not guilty of first-degree murder. Let that sink in. He was found guilty of second-degree murder, which meant that he had just killed him in the heat of the moment and hadn't planned on it. That's what second-degree murder is. You kill somebody, but you didn't plan on killing somebody.
It was an accident.
No, not necessarily an accident. But he got 6 life sentences with no parole concurrently, which means they run at the same time. Family members were expressing disbelief, and some were crying, but the less than honorable Judge Williams, told them basically to shut up or he'd find them in contempt.
Wow.
Like an asshole. This guy, like I said, the judicial aspect of this is worse than the VPD.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's saying a lot. We got this. Dinah Taylor was never arrested despite her DNA being found on victims and victims' belongings. Gina Houston was never charged either. Impact statements were read, and they are fucking heartbreaking. I'm not gonna read any on this. We're long on this episode anyway.
Mm-hmm. Get a book.
Yeah, they're in there. Some of them are. And the 20 remaining cases were dropped. Remember, because they were supposed to be we'll get to them later, eh?
Mm-hmm.
43 women would not get justice. And Willie will be eligible for parole in 2027. Yeah, because they ran the sentences concurrently.
Yeah.
He's trying to get day parole now, and it's unlikely that he'll get parole. And he's over 70. I think he's 77 now. But the fact that he could is a little unsettling. And the fact that they're even considering the Pinky Promise release program is even more unsettling.
Yeah.
Once again, Pinky Promise release was basically day parole.
Yeah.
Where you promise that you'll come back at the end of the day.
Yeah, before sunset.
Yeah. Worked so well with Lester Eubanks and Carl Panzram. But the VPD was overhauled, and it was determined in court that they had deliberately overlooked things that could have brought this to a close much sooner. Like I mentioned in episode 3, the way they handle sex workers now has drastically changed for the better. Angela Jonesbury's mother filed a civil lawsuit against the VPD and British Columbia government for improper handling of the case. She won. Judge Williams was sanctioned for removing Sandra Ringwald as a witness and for the dismissal of the 20 other cases.
Yeah.
And it took over 2 years before it was I said he was sanctioned. It's basically a slap on the wrist. It's like giving an NFL player a $2,000 fine. You know? But still.
Mm.
It took over 2 years before it was announced that there was a strong possibility that people ate human meat mixed with pork. When it was announced, there wasn't really that big of an outcry about it. It's probably just like, I'd just like to forget about that. I don't want to know. I ate it, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
the past is the past. Be like, okay.
In 2009, investigators still combing the property found DNA from 6 more women: Yvonne Bowen, Jackie Murdoch, Nancy Clark, Sharon Abraham, Stephanie Lane, and Dawn Cray. The Crown recommended that Willie be tried for them, but of course nothing happened.
Mm.
Yvonne Bowen was the only one out of those that I listed that had been mentioned earlier reported missing. The others hadn't even been reported missing.
Wow.
Sandra Ringwald has gotten cleaned up and she had regained custody of her children. Gina Houston died in 2010. And in 2018, Willie was transferred to a maximum security prison in Quebec. And with that, we finally wrap up the Willie Pickton saga as well as the Canada Binge. Woo! Thank you very much.
And that makes 9 episodes in the Canada Binge.
9?
9!
9!
Like I said, we would drink Canada dry.
And we did. It was originally going to be 4 stories, with 3 one-part episodes and then a 3-part series on Pickton, and it turned into 5 one-parts and a 4-part series on Pickton. We hope you all enjoyed it. And next week we're covering Sean Gillis, the other Baton Rouge serial killer, and we'll be joined with that one once again by Jody Plauché.
Yeah, and if you stick it out for all parts of this, you are diehards. Diehards, my friend. We thank you.
Hell yeah. Let's give them a round of applause.
And I double that. Yeah.
Wow. That was intense, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really was going through that. I've put together some, look at Panzram and BTK, the 3-part episodes that we've done. I did a lot on them. It took me a long time, but this was next level.
Oh yeah.
I mean, wow.
Oh yeah.
Didn't know what the hell I was, getting into when I decided on doing, finishing the Canada Binge with Willie Pickton.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad I did because I think our series was really good.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And I tell you, out of 700-page book, man, there's a lot in there. There's still a lot of stuff to dig into. But hey,
I think I touched on the main points, especially get there toward the end. I think I touched on the main points, but just the nitty gritty and everything. Yeah, pick up the book if you want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, thanks a hell of a lot for listening. We appreciate the hell out of it, and you're better at doing the goodbye than I am. Go ahead, take it.
Well, yep. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if it's the first time you've listen, please click like, subscribe, comment, share. And also, don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcast. We will see you
Yes.
next week.
And until next week, later.